Well, sending our kids off to college is happening all over the area. It's an emotional time for parents, but it's also stressful when it comes to paying the bill. And joining us right now with the morning edition is Gary Scheer, financial consultant from Morristown, to help us avoid college tuition, money mistakes. And Gary, thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you, CJ.
Hey, Gary, I know probably the most obvious situation is not having a plan. How do we develop a plan, and when should we start developing a plan to pay for college?
Well, it's true, CJ, that too often people wait until their children are in high school before they start thinking about college expenses. And they often don't think about the ravages of inflation. They hear the government talking about inflation being at 3%, but college tuition inflation is really closer to 8%. So I recommend that people start saving the day their child is born.
Really?
Absolutely.
And if you do that, would you have enough money to pay for college, which, I mean, the expense of college it's just so enormous now.
Absolutely. It is possible. That's why it's important to start saving right away. It's sort of like when people say about voting, vote early and often, save early and often. If people start saving the day their child is born, they'll get into the habit of doing it, and they'll be able to live on less than they would if they didn't start saving.
Now, Gary, we have very generous aunts and uncles, and many times they want to pay for college, or they want to help out, but what's the big problem here?
Well, potentially gift taxes. A lot of people, in particular grandparents, some parents as well, if they're in a position to do so, want to get their kids off to an early, successful start, so they'll gift their children the money to pay the tuition. And it's possible to run afoul of gift tax laws if they pay too much for the gift. So it makes more sense to actually write the check directly to the university, because there's an unlimited amount of money that is allowable for that. We have something called the rule of 14,000, and with a couple of exceptions, people can put $14,000 in the form of a gift to anybody, in particular their student, and not run afoul of IRS regulations.
And we don't want to do that.
No.
The other thing is crushing student loan debt. And you may be a parent still paying off your student loan from college. I mean, it can happen. I mean, and on the other side, the student might have crushing student loan debt. How do we avoid this debt as a parent and a child from haunting us?
Right. Well, it's important. We're living in an era now where foreclosures and short sales are commonplace. People cannot short sale their student loans. The Department of Education is running the student loan programs today so that even if people file bankruptcy, that's a debt that they still have to pay. Now, if people run into financial hardships, the bank that services that debt will work with them. You know, maybe they'll do things with either interest rates or stretch out the length of terms, or issue a forbearance. And what's interesting, that if the loan is in the student's name instead of the parent's name, there may be more flexibility with having some of it written off by the government and really the taxpayers.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. Well, Gary, thanks so much for coming in on this Tuesday morning and helping us out through the maze of having to pay for college. I know it's very difficult. The tuition is extremely large, but Gary's here with some great money-saving tips. Gary Scheer, financial consultant, helping us out this morning on the Morning Edition.